What we're gonna do is flip the camera if it will let me. And part one was border. Border exists, you can see it there. It's a big tube of ice. Some of it is bigger than others, and that's okay. But that goes around that. Part two was starting the fill, and I started the fill. And what you're gonna end up with if you do an ice skating rink is there's always a low spot. And this is mine. And the seam between the two sides of plastic is right there. Ooh, this is really solid. Ooh, that's nice. If you can freeze, the seam, which is what I want to do, so there's water on it now. Not much though, and it's liquid because it's been going for 2 days while I wasn't here. If you can freeze the seam with 1 to 2 inches of water on it, then you have a solid base and you can just flood. We aren't to the flooding point yet. Right now I have a trickle of water up there on that far corner. The high point right there is where I put a sprinkler. Don't use sprinklers. It makes it awful. This is a nice solid patch of ice here. This is what I want, right? There's a little bit of water on top of it because I'm flooding, or lightly flooding. What's going on here? And so, and big ice chunks I want to put down there, built up cold as possible in one spot. So I've done this before, and you just keep on flooding, and the ground, so although that's twice as big as I've ever done before. And so I think I'm gonna move the hose, and we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna move the hose. Why not? We'll put it on top of my stupid, where I put the, this is all where I put the, zoom. This is where I put the, okay, let's see if I can get out of this. That's where I put the sprinkler. So I'd like to melt that down a little bit more.
Low battery.
And then, so I want to melt that down a little bit more. Like I said, I've got this big ice base along most of the seam, all the way over here. We have a nice solid base of ice down to the seam. And so it's unlikely to break that. You might get a crack and go down to it, but with the solid base, you can build on top of it. And that's what we're doing. We're lucky it's going to be 6 degrees tonight. I'm just kicking the high points down because otherwise I have to build the ice up to those high points, which is going to be a lot of water. But I would not mind 6 inches of ice. It's just really amazing how much the water really doesn't do what you want it to do. So the hope here is, as I'm flooding here, that instead of going through the ice, which it will, it goes on top of the ice. And so you just gotta I think I'm just gonna keep the hose moving tonight so it doesn't make a little trench. Okay, and so I'm just gonna keep it moving on top of all this stuff here. What I don't want is a little trench. I want it to evenly fill. That's the thought behind the sprinkler. But the problem with the sprinkler is you get a pattern. So you need a random sprinkler just to move this hose on a regular basis. So even right now I'm saying, okay, let's move that hose there. And I've just got a trickle. Like, we are doing very little volume right now with this. And you can also see where I stepped before. Whew, that was good. And we just want to break this down as much as possible because we don't want any high points. Once that low spot gets frozen though, this is going to go quick. It'll be one night and we'll have just a big nice slab of ice. It'll be perfectly smooth except for right here, which I screwed up. I'm kind of worried about this right now. Get some heavy boots and just do some kicking. It's not bad. Got some liquid there from earlier today. I think I just gotta come out every 20 minutes and move that hose. Like my mom moving the sprinkler when I was a kid. because if it sits in one spot, it drills a hole down and then the water runs underneath. And I don't want the water to run underneath. I want it to run on top. That's how it's going to cool down. So I've got to move it before it drills that hole. Right? If you can think of a better way, let me know in the comments. So I can see one person is out there. I've got a like. Thank you for whoever that is. Once again, I'm still doing, the cool part once again is I have some waterproof, individually addressable LED lights along that side and along that side. I haven't lit them up yet. I still need to write the code to have them controlled remotely. I'm working on that. That might be something I do tomorrow. I'm too tired today though. We went hunting and just got back and have to, so it's time to move that hose again. Drilling a hole. I don't want to drill the hole. So we're gonna just keep on melting down my big hump over here. So we'll see how it goes. If you have any comments, thoughts, well wishes, let me know. I don't want to waste too much more time on this. We'll just see how it looks in the morning. Like I said, once that, and also the distance. So if I have that hose, the further the distance, the more time the heat has to dissipate by the time it gets down to that low spot. So I want a lot of distance between where the hose is and where the seam is. And the reason why there's a seam is I've got two 20 by 100 feet sheets of plastic underneath there, and that seam is just where they line up. And so there's no way to get around it. Didn't have a good way of taping it. I'll take suggestions for that for future use as well. But I don't think that there's a good way to take care of the plastic that way, to tape it. I suppose you could during it's when it's cold, and so you can't really iron your poly together then. I guess you could. There might be a way to do it. But for 100 feet, it's a pain. I've tried doing it, and you just don't get a very good seam. Tape doesn't work very well on poly, especially in these temperatures. I've tried that before. If you tape it beforehand, it works really well, but then you have to deal with a big... It's so nice to roll it out fresh. And that's the problem there. I'll take suggestions on that to make life easier. But it's supposed to get 6 degrees. 6 degrees is plenty cold enough to freeze some water, but it just takes time. We're battling time here. So once again, we're going to go out, move that hose to another high spot, have it work that down. My fingers are getting a little chilly, so I'm going to go inside and warm them up. Here, there's a big ice chunk that I can work on. I like that. Okay. Have a good night.